so UFC 219, Cyborg versus Home, the long-awaited fight that everybody wants to see because there's no featherweight division. So
How was it really long awaited? Man.
no, I guess it's not long-awaited. It's just like
Jeez.
there's no one else to fight her, so they're just putting them together.
For one night only, there'll be a women's featherweight division.
Yeah, we could talk all day about this like non-existent featherweight division.
It doesn't even exist like outside the UFC. Like there's nobody people are saying, oh, we should do tough or whatever. Like granted, there are probably a few, women you could find, Megan Anderson, Reina from out your way. And yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't think they exist. I think it's kind of like the white whale.
Can Reina make 145?
What weight is she even at? I honestly, I don't follow.
She's like 200 pounds.
She's 155. She fights at 155.
Oh, okay. She looks like she's 200.
Yeah, she looks like it. So I think the scales, they just adjusted for her for a little second,
That's typical Asian MMA.
Yeah, Those guys on Twitter for Asian MMA, like Japanese MMA guys on Twitter, they crack me up, man. Like they're like full blown, like they only know Japanese MMA. They just shit on like the UFC and all that shit. But they don't even live in Japan. That's the funny part. They're like in another country, like watching Japanese MMA and just like giving their commentary on that. So
bro, they probably got the lifestyle down better than you do. They come home to their bowl noodle and they got anime on 24/7, and they probably like wear all like the traditional stuff and like eat on the floor and all that. They're probably more Asian than you are, bro. I'm telling you.
Hey, let me find out that they got the surgery too. Like the reverse eye surgery, like you got the slanted eye surgery and shit. That'd be fucked up. That's why none of them show their faces. Because how many Japanese MMA guys that are not living in Japan show their faces? Think about it.
You just got real dark real quick.
Like you don't know who they are, man. It's just like, who are these guys? Like like Stuart Fulton. Stuart Fulton, the guy that commentates Pancrase.
No.
Huh?
I said the name rings a bell with me, but I can't like put a face to it.
Yeah, they've been trying to get him on the commentary team for Ryzen because Ryzen just fucks up every event.
They really do. Oh my god.
Yeah,
this time they got Frank Trigg. This time they got Frank Trigg and that dude from Canada with the bald head.
Frank Trigg. I love how everybody was freaking out about Frank Trigg refereeing. Like he's been refereeing like California events for quite some time now. And people were like losing their shit that he was at the UFC Fresno card.
Yeah, he did Bellator a bunch of times, right?
Yeah, he's done Bellator. He's done Combate Americas. He's did the LFA when they were out here. Like, dude's done a bunch of events.
That's what everybody's been saying. Like, this judging is terrible. This refereeing is terrible. We should have people that know the sport judging and, and stuff like that. And that's what's happening with Frank Trigg. He knows the fucking sport. Why are they complaining about that shit? That's fucking stupid.
No, nobody's complaining. They were just amazed. They were like,
oh, amazed. Okay, that's another word.
It's Frank Trigg. Like, oh my God.
Let's get an autograph.
Yeah.
But, hey, isn't Chris Liebing reffing too?
Chris Lieben?
Yeah, I think he's out there reffing or judging or something like that too.
He spends all his time at the gym out here. Like, I know he's like he puts in a lot of time at Victory out here.
Oh, okay.
There's actually a handful of guys that are amateur referees. My understanding. Like, I was watching some tape for the Contender Series last summer. Austin Arnett was fighting, and actually his teammate Michael Chiesa was the referee, which is like weird. So I don't really know what the amateur rules are. I don't know if you just have to like show up with gloves or something, but yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's a number of fighters that are maybe testing the waters.
Yeah, you gotta just show up with your plastic gloves and some black Nike Cortezes, and you all set to go.
Yeah, you gotta make a living after getting paid $10K a fight in the UFC.
For sure, man. But yeah, going back to Cyborg, is this an even matchup? Do you think? Do you think that?
Why? I feel like we've entered like this territory where people just want to pick against Cyborg to pick against Cyborg now.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't even understand it anymore. Like, why do so many people think Holm is going to win this fight? I'm very confused.
Yeah, I mean, I'd still pick Cyborg. I think, part of the reason, obviously, is like people wanted to lose Cyborg. They wanted to, the mystique to be gone. But also, I think her performance against Evinger, maybe everybody was expecting her to come out and murder her. And that when I feel like there's so many black and white thinkers in the sport where they, somebody underperforms, so then they're awful, and somebody overperforms, and then they're awesome. So I think that's kind of what's happening here with Cyborg, where they're, they went 3 or 4 rounds with Tanya Evinger, like, what's Holm going to do to her? Whereas she still beat her pretty soundly. Like, there was never a moment in that fight where Cyborg wasn't dominating. So I think that's part of it.
It was a question of when, like, not if in that fight she was going to finish her. And I said before the fight that Evinger was going to last a lot longer than, like, most of Cyborg's opponents because she's tough as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's more of a credit to, Tanya Evinger being a tough-ass girl than it does, the fact that Cyborg couldn't get her out in the first round. Added the fact that there was a title on the line and, everything that goes along with that. But it's fucking Holly Holm. Like, she got pieced up by Jermaine Durandamy, Like, are we really having this conversation where people are honestly, like, people I respect are honestly taking Holly Holm in this fight with a straight face and thinking that she's somehow going to even, like, KO Cyborg? I'm blown away. I'm really confused.
Well, people are like, they're grasping onto that little, like, 1% of possibility in MMA and running with it with 100% confidence that that's going to happen. And yeah, everybody has their own opinion, but I think we all agree that Cyborg is just going to demolish Holly Holm, and it's going to be even worse than the Evinger fight. Much more violent. I guess I can't speak for you guys, but I believe that it's just going to be way worse because Evinger, I agree with you, Tone. Evinger, she's tough as nails, man. Like, she is one of the toughest girls out there in the world. And that just shows that her hanging with Cyborg just, justified how tough she is. But I don't think Holly Holm is that as tough as her. It's just.
Well, I also think that stylistically, like, Holly Holm, and her, it's going to be, we're not going to see the clinch. We're not going to see the ground like we did in the Evinger fight. Like, these girls are going to go at it on the feet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's where we're going to see the violence get up to, another level from what we saw in the last fight.
What is your prediction of this?
I think Cyborg gets the finish in round 2.
Oh, it's quick. What about you, King?
I'm going to say Cyborg round 4. I think Holm survives. Like you said, though, I think Tone's right on point. Styles make fights. And, even if you were to, some people out there probably would pick Holly Holm over Evinger. I think that's probably what the majority would be. Even though that's the case, I don't think that translates on how well you would do, the fighter does against Cris Cyborg. So I think there'll be a lot more exchanges, and that usually ends poorly for the opponent. So I'll say, like, third round finish I'll go with for Cyborg.
All right. Well, now let's think of it from the viewpoint of the UFC. Who does the UFC want to win?
I mean, I still think they want Cyborg to win. At this point, Holly Holm, I mean, what can you do? I mean, she has so many losses now on her record. It's hard to, like, I mean, you could always replay the Ronda Rousey replay over and over again. But Cyborg, has that kind of just scary factor, where people, even like non-fans, will see her on TV and be like, holy shit, who is this chick that's just, like, murdering, like, these poor girls, So, like, I feel like she has that kind of it factors. But the thing with her is that she doesn't deal well with the UFC, but they did just ink that deal. We're not sure how long it's for, but I think that's a good sign, for the UFC that they were able to even work that deal out in the first place for, even though there's no details out there.
Yeah, I agree with Tone there again. I think that the Cris Cyborg, like, creating roadkill spectacle will never not be interesting to people. And I think that's what this division really is about at this point, with no fighters in it. So, yeah, if Holly Holm wins this belt, I mean, I don't know, man. If Holly Holm wins this belt, honestly, if I was the UFC, I'd have her, go back down and fight Amanda Nunes for, like, I don't know, put the belts on the line, do it old style, and just throw one out the window. Cause I don't want to see the 145 division without Cyborg at this point. I don't think it's very stable as is.
So you think if Holly Holmes wins, that they should just scrap the featherweight division?
I mean, I think that it's, yeah, I don't know. That's what I would do. Honestly, like, I don't know how they could justify doing it, but I just think I don't see the long-term viability of this division at this point. I mean, Megan Anderson maybe, but then what?
It's Megan Anderson is like the only one out there, and then it's like, what if you really wanted to do something with the division? Why didn't you do an Ultimate Fighter? We just saw with 125, they immediately have their rankings up. 145 still doesn't have fucking rankings, and 125 came along like a year later and now has like full rankings, 15 to the top. And that's just ridiculous. So if they really wanted to do something with the division, instead of doing this undefeated thing that they're doing, which, I mean, that's still a cool idea. Like, I really like some of the guys at the top of the roster that they released, that Sean released a lot of those names. But I mean, they could have done the featherweight, some kind of featherweight Ultimate Fighter thing, and just kind of flooded the division with just bodies. At least put some bodies in there, But
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a start. If you're gonna have a division, you gotta have fighters in it. So even if they're not that good, just why not go for it? I feel like they should either be all in or all out. I feel like we're kind of hanging on here.
Yeah, it's not like the 125 girls are the fucking cream of the crop or anything.
No, that's the thing.
I'd pick the Bellator champion, or even the girl that fought for the Bellator championship belt, to beat a lot of those girls. Even the Invicta, I'd pick the Invicta girls. We just saw they just had an event. Maya, and I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the other girl's name. But Jennifer Maya is a killer at 125. And so you have talent, all over the place for that division, which is, I guess, a lot different than 145, where, like you were saying earlier, it's like you couldn't even find it outside of the UFC.
Open weight.
Yeah.
Women's open weight.
Well, they're doing that in Road FC now, and Ryzen's doing that. Because, Asia, that's what they do. They love the open weights. So
yeah,
they're starting that.
See it at UFC.
Yeah. But, I was thinking, like, would it be possible, since Invicta does have a featherweight division, to, like, push all the females that want to fight in featherweight to Invicta, scrap the featherweight division in the UFC, and then do a co-promotion with the UFC, since they are connected and they have a good relationship? So whenever they want Cyborg to fight for the title, or Holly Holmes or whoever, they could just put it on a UFC pay-per-view, and then they're fighting for the Invicta title. Do you think that's a good idea?
When was the last time the UFC co-promoted an event?
Never, but I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just saying.
I'm not doing it.
So I don't like that they have this division, the featherweight division. It's just a waste of time, and they're just getting it just kind of shows you that they're getting desperate with with everything. It's like they're trying to make the money back, so they're trying to make these divisions that don't exist really, and it just sucks. So Cyborg, she's gonna end up becoming, like, I don't know. She'll have a weird place in history. Of course, she's gonna be the most feared women's fighter of all time, but her place in history is not like. Would you consider her as the best, as the most proven women's fighter?
Well, I think her whole career has just been girls running from her. I mean, Ronda Rousey was fighting. A lot of people forget this. Ronda Rousey was fighting at featherweight. She was fighting at 145 pounds in Strikeforce. Cyborg went out and murdered Gina Carano who was like the top women's fighter at the time and is now acting in Fast and Furious movies. And it's like as soon as Rousey saw that, she's like, "Fuck this," and went to 135. And that's just kind of the story of her career. Like nobody wants to fight her. Holly Holm even had some crazy excuses as to why she wouldn't fight her, and was trying to do a catch weight at 140 despite just fighting for the 145 belt versus Jermaine Durandamy, who also ran from her, literally ran from her pretty much. I mean, it's just insane. Her career is she's so scary that literally nobody wants to fight her.
Well, I don't want to fight her.
Yeah.
She's gonna kick my ass, and I weigh like 100 more pounds than her.
I know. Hey. Anyway, let's move on to the co-main event. You got Khabib versus Barboza. What do you guys think? Is Team Tiramisu going to show their face?
I think he'll be there. I think he'll be there this time. I mean, if what they're saying, I mean, we hear this every time. Oh, this is the best weight cut I've ever had. But I mean, if the numbers that are given are, you know, even 5 pounds within the actual numbers that he's walking around at now, I think we're in good shape, barring some illness or some other crazy Khabib-like activity. But yeah, I think we'll see it, and I'm looking forward to it. I think, you know, some consistency from Khabib would be nice. The year-long layoffs make it tough for me to predict his fights every time because you just don't know. A year's so long, you know, for somebody's body. You know, you see some of like, think about the MMA fighters that fight on a regular basis and how, you know, you say, damn, that guy was a champ a year ago. Johnny Hendricks was this, and then he's like, you know, at the bottom of the barrel, stuff like that. So, you know, the human body can do some funky things within a year. So it's always hard for me to predict. I am going to pick him just because I didn't think Edson looked as sharp as he's looked either in his last fight against Beneil Dariush. Before he got that fantastic knockout, he was getting chewed up on the feet and just really dominated. So I'm going to go with Khabib, but who knows? You know, with the layoff, you can never make a fully accurate prediction.
What do you think, Tone?
I think Khabib is on another level. Like he's just an insane talent, and I mean I don't see Barboza having an answer for him on the ground. You know, obviously an amazing striker. You know, flashy as it gets, like just kind of a highlight reel type of dude. But I mean, he's gonna get caught with the choke. He's gonna get caught with something. He's been submitted twice in his career, and you know, Khabib's not the guy to fuck around with. I try to imagine like some way of Barboza winning, and it's just fluky type shit, you know. Whereas I could see Khabib just grinding him out, and I don't give a fuck about the layoffs. Like Khabib's been, you know, he has been out of the fight game before for a while and came back and still ran over guys.
Barboza, he's a kick-oriented fighter, and that's terrible for Barboza because those kicks, once you catch one of them, it goes to the ground. And you know, once it goes to the ground, Khabib is just a monster on the ground. And that's what I feel that is going to happen is he's just going to catch one of those kicks and take it to the ground and just grind him out and punch a hole in his face. That's what's most likely going to happen to Barboza.
And I have a question for you guys. What do you think if Khabib wins this fight? What's the next matchup that happens for the UFC for a UFC lightweight championship? Do you think it will be Ferguson and Khabib, or you think end up being McGregor and Ferguson?
Well,
Ferguson and Khabib.
Yeah, McGregor. He's not in camp. I haven't seen him train MMA in God knows how long. Like, it just seems like he's, you know, looking for another big payday. Manny Pacquiao. And, yeah, we'll have to deal with that circus all over again. So, great.
McGregor should be stripped, man. He hasn't fought in over a year. He won the title last year in November. It's 1 year. It's been 13 months. You need to strip him, man. Why are they hanging on to his title?
I'm sure they will. I mean, at least I hope they will. Once a fight for Ferguson gets, the other problem is that Ferguson's fucking injured. He's not available.
Yeah, it'll be
but
interesting to see when that fight happens.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Probably fight week, maybe. Honestly, I don't know. Do you think they'll hold him out for that? I'm split because I know in March was the date they were originally targeting, that 222 card, but that doesn't seem like that's necessarily going to be
For Ferguson?
For Ferguson and McGregor.
I mean, he just had surgery, did he not?
Right. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't seem like that makes much sense anymore because, Tony's had surgery. I don't know.
But it's minor surgery, they said. Minor.
He's still sidelined, though, and McGregor's not – I mean, he hasn't even touched, he hasn't even been in the building at SBG and God knows how long. Like, I feel like he's dead set on just getting another boxing payday. And who knows? I don't think he has any intention of returning to MMA.
It'll be interesting to see if he will be at UFC 219 in attendance.
Is it a Bellator event? If not, then he won't be there.
All right. Well, let's move on to Carlos Condit's back against Neil Magny. This is an interesting fight because Neil Magny has been kind of on the decline in a way, right? And Condit hasn't fought in 2 years? Has it been that long?
Yeah, it must have been because he didn't fight this year. And it was January of 2016, so it'll be almost 2 years.
Fuck, man! Like this, what do you think is gonna happen with this fight? This is a more of an opportunity for Magny than for Condit.
Really? You think? I don't know. Magny's been finished twice in his last 3 fights, and his win was just kind of a sloppy decision over Hendricks. It wasn't incredibly impressive or anything.
I'm just saying it's more of an opportunity for him to kind of, if he wins, he got some win over Carlos Condit, which is a huge name.
I mean, Carlos Condit is still a huge fan favorite. Kind of, not on the level of like someone like Cowboy, but just kind of that type of, fan favorite where hasn't been the champion, but people just fucking love him. And I don't know. It's good to see him back. I don't. If he doesn't win this, it would be hard to see him, back in the octagon. That would be a lot of losses in the last few years, So I don't know. I hope he gets the win, just so we don't have to say farewell.
Yeah, I love this matchup. I think this is great matchmaking. Like you said, it's kind of a guy on the decline against a guy that's been out for a while. I think those are the type of fights that you need to put when guys have long layoffs. Make there be something on the line for both guys. Condit comes back, he wins, he's right back in the talks. If Magny wins, he just saved his career more than if he had fought some guy ranked number 15 or something. So I think it's great matchmaking, and I think Carlos should win though pretty decisively.
Yeah, it should be a stand-up battle, and he should get the knockout. It should be. I think it's going to be a quick one. I don't think it's going to take long for Condit to take Magny out. I just don't see it. I just don't see the development in his striking to be able to get away from Condit. Rivera, this is one of the fight of the nights, I think, is Jimmy Rivera versus John Lineker.
Awesome fight.
You think Rivera has the IQ to beat Lineker, like how TJ Dillashaw beat Lineker?
I do. I actually think I'm going to pick Jimmy Rivera in that fight. I think he's going to be the next guy to get a shot at TJ Dillashaw.
Whoa. over some of the other guys at 135?
I mean, it's tough, man, but I think if he comes out and beats John Lineker decisively, I think he should be the one that's in the forefront. You can make, again, there's so many guys that you can make the argument for. The problem is for me with Moraes, he just lost. So that's kind of a hard thing for me I know he's got 2 wins in a row.
He lost.
But he's lost to –
Lost.
Yeah, right. But, I mean, you still got you have a guy on an 8-fight win streak or whatever in Assunção with his only loss being to or he's won 8 out of 9 or something. The only loss is to Dillashaw. So for me, that kind of puts Maurice behind a little bit in this discussion. So I don't know. I feel like Rivera's kind of earned it, and he's put on some really good performances. So an impressive win over John Lineker. I think, I think he'll be the front runner there.
I want Lineker to win though.
I think Lineker's. I don't know. I think Rivera is the more skilled fighter, but I could totally see Lineker just.
It's John Lineker.
Yeah, it's fucking John Lineker.
But his last performance was kind of whack, though, don't you think?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, kind of like a bounce back from the Dillashaw, where he just got pieced apart. And he
got
was
his jaw broken, I think.
Yeah, he was a huge favorite, like a gigantic favorite, and he really, he didn't, blow the doors off of Marlon Vera.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's, maybe you got to give Vera credit on that.
I don't think Jimmy Rivera, even if he wins this fight, I don't think that he will get the title shot. I think that a Sun Sal will probably get
different opinions
because all these what is it? The timing is kind of important too, right? Because the Sun Sal fought a month ago? Was it like a month ago?
Well, it must have been. Yeah, it was was it Norfolk?
Yeah, and he maybe a couple of weeks ago, right? And
early November.
Yeah, and he came out of that fight probably injury free, so the timing kind of matches up more for Sun Sal to kind of take on TJ Dillashaw if they're both healthy. It could be in the early this year, like you said. The schedule's kind of weak, so they might throw one of those title shots in there with the Sun Sal fighting Dillashaw and Jimmy Rivera. Who knows how he's gonna come out if he wins against Lineker? He could get
Marias fucking beat a Sun Sal though. Marias fucking beat a Sun Sal.
He did?
Hey, I'm not arguing with that, but
he should be getting the title shot.
He did?
I have Marias. Nolan has Rivera, and you have a Sun Sal.
I love it. I love it.
It's gonna be a Cody Garbrandt rematch, right?
No, that's not gonna happen.
Cody's out in Thailand.
Yeah, he's having fun out there. He's not even thinking about fighting. But like if you throw Cody Garbrandt's name in there, there's a lot of good fights that he can take on, like those three guys. Any of those guys.
Whoever doesn't get the shot, boom, there's a matchup. So
I like the Cody Garbrandt versus Moraes fight.
Yeah, that one
great
really
fight. Right, so like a Sun Sal, give him the title shot because that's the guy that I'm pushing for, and Jimmy Rivera, who knows what happens to him in this fight, but he is one of the front runners. I agree that he is. And Lineker, he's in an awkward position because he already lost to TJ. Even if he wins this fight, I don't see them giving him a title shot. So I don't know, man. What do you guys think? If Lineker wins, where does that put him?
You can't have him rematch
Dillashaw.
I mean, that was destruction. Like he got, absolutely destroyed. I think he has some serious work to do, or needs a changing of the guard to get another shot.
Yeah, how about Lineker versus Moraes? That fight has me falling into him off a little bit. Yeah.
And then you got Dominic Cruz that might come back too. Yeah. Who knows? Like Jimmy. I was looking forward to that Jimmy Rivera versus Dominic Cruz fight. That was a great matchup.
That would have been one of the most technically sound fights of the year. So 135 is stacked, though. You think about this division 2 years ago. It's just like, another one where people would be like, oh, I don't know. When Barao was running house and things looked dim, and you look at it now, it's awesome. It's arguably one of the stronger divisions when you're talking about the ranked fighters and who's in title contention and the top matchups you can make right now. So I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. I'm sure we'll get some good matchups at the beginning of 2018.
For sure. Like before we go, let's talk about one more fight that's very interesting on the prelims is the Daniel Hooker versus Mark DeCasey fight. What do you guys think about that one?
DeCasey.
Is it DeCasey or DeCasey or Dakisi? What is it?
I don't know. I don't know
It
what it
was
is. I
one
kind
of
of like
those.
I think it's the Casey, but for
Yeah.
the sake of the conversation, pronunciation doesn't matter. But anyways, yeah, I think that's a great fight. I think Hooker's looked pretty improved his last few fights since moving back up to lightweight, and I think that the Casey had a little bit of a stumble in his last fight, but Drecker Klaus is a tough guy, so it might have just been a little bit too much too soon. But I think I'm going to favor Daniel Hooker slightly in this fight. It's tough. It's tough when you got a guy that's evolving like DeCasey, when he's improving like that. So I just think we might have overestimated what he's capable of now. I think that's maybe the problem that I'm having. So I'm going to go with Hooker, but I could see DeCasey getting a highlight reel, some type of crazy finish too. So
Yeah, I agree. I think Diakazi could definitely get a highlight reel knockout. I mean, the guy, has a ton of finishes, and I would favor him. Just I like the athlete, the athlete that he is. And before the close fight, I mean, he was putting on some really impressive performances. And I think I'm thinking that the close fight was just kind of bumping the road for him. But Hooker's a tough test for him, really tough test.
Yeah, Diakazi, he's exciting, man. Hooker has a big test on his hands himself. They're both in different, like, I guess in their UFC careers, they're both in like a different spectrum. Like Hooker is like, if he gets this win, he could maybe crack the top 15, maybe. Diakazi, if he wins, he probably needs another fight, you know what I mean, to be in the top 15. It's a weird matchup. I think that I don't know who's going to win, but someone's getting finished.
yeah, it could be a fight of the night candidate right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One more thing before we go. Luis Smoka, he's on the card. I think that that's going to be – this is a decisive fight for him. If he loses, he could probably get cut. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. Miles Jury is back, the guy that he was – remember a few years ago, he was getting pumped up to be the next big thing, and then all of a sudden he just disappeared. And now he's back fighting Rick Glenn, which is a tough fight for him. What do you guys think about that fight?
That's a great fight. I think Glenn is a guy to watch it at 145 pounds. I think that last fight, everybody, again, it was a kind of, everybody must have forgot how good he was type of performance, because he was a pretty sizable underdog against Gavin Tucker. And that was, right up there with Ricardo Lamas and Jason Knight for the most brain damage, taken on in a fight. That was just a brutal beatdown. Whatever he broke, his jaw, his nose, and I think 2 or 3 bones in his face. So Rick Glenn, man, I'm honestly going to pick him in that fight. I just think he's just going to, I don't know, continue his winning ways.
Well, there's a reason that Miles Jury was considered the next big thing, because I mean he went to a close split decision with Al Iaquinta. He beat Michael Johnson. He beat Mike Ritchie. Beat Diego Sanchez. Knocked out Takanori Gomi.
He's the one who started the decline of Gomi.
Oh, that's why you don't like him. I see how it is. No, but there's a reason this guy was pegged as the next big thing. And then, you run into fucking Donald Cerrone. And, things just kind of – yeah, I think he got injured at some point after the loss to Cowboy Oliveira.
All right, man. I got to bounce, but I'll check you guys on the other side.
Sounds good.
All right.